Another spotlight interview to highlight our 2025 induction class to the Marietta High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I'm pleased to be joined by Cory Kriechbaum from the class of 2007. Cory, I looked down this list, and I don't know if this makes me old or just worldly, but I have had a chance to either broadcast or watch every one of these athletes compete, save Doak Markley, and I did get to watch him coach, but nobody more than you, because I got you in baseball, basketball, and football. So my first question is, I always have to ask, I feel like I know the answer, but what's your favorite?
Oh, it's a tough one. Probably was the best at baseball, but football is probably where I had the most fun. Just being out. There were 10 other guys, all working to achieve the one goal. That's really tough though. Because baseball, I played a lot of that growing up. Spent many hours and weekends at ball fields, all over the state and the area. So, they're a 1A, 1B situation right there. So.
Yeah, and certainly wore the C on your sleeve as well. Was that, and I think it was all your years in baseball at the high school level, was that something that the coaches did or the team voted on, or do you remember?
No, I don't really remember that. I would think probably more so a little half and half. If I had to guess, looking back at it.
Have you been privy at all? There's it hasn't been around very long, but there's like a 30-year stats career Marietta High School baseball stats floating around, and I got a copy of it up here. But your name's littered all through it. I didn't know if you'd ever seen that floating around or not.
I've not seen that. That would be interesting to look at.
Oh, I'm sure it would be for you. It would be for me if my name popped up that many times as well. So let's talk a little bit about, let's just go back to, you can go back as far as you want, from 03 to 07. I think you were playing all those years. So talk a little bit about coaches, teammates, any mentors or anything that kind of pops out from those years. As you know, it's important that you have the right people guiding you.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back, baseball was Coach Thrash, Coach Burke. Just talked to Coach Thrash here very recently. And then in basketball, Coach Warner, Coach Seacrest, and in football, Coach Spicer. So, all those guys, taught the game, taught the correct way to play. It was just a real joy to play for all of those guys. And then you mentioned mentors. Obviously my dad, the countless hours that we spent at ball fields and basketball courts, whether that be indoor, outdoor, just all the time and dedication that he spent coaching, all the teams that I played on, all those years growing up, couldn't have done it without him. So, and then when you mentioned teammates, just in general, being with them, whether it be preseason baseball practices up in the gym when it was too cold to go outside, open gyms for basketball in the summertime, or, 2-day summer football practices and lifting sessions, just looking back on some of that stuff, it was, some of the better times that I had hanging out with your buddies and just trying to make yourself better and ultimately win a few games when the season rolled around. So
it's kind of hard to hone in on one thing when you played such a high level at all three sports. Heck, you probably even had another one in there, but I'm talking about baseball, basketball, and football. But just from the basketball side, the first team all SEOAL, all District 13, all Southeast, honorable mention, all Ohio Division I, big accolades. But there's a couple other ones, the Dick Weber Award, the Frank Sutton Award, and that brings a lot more to it than the stats. Do you recall getting the call on those and saying, hey, we need you to represent?
Yeah, so I vaguely remember that. I remember the honors in the auditorium, at the end of, senior year, to be awarded with those, everything that came with it. Those were just really cool honors to be bestowed upon. So, very appreciative for those and what those entailed.
And took the game of football to the next level, and again, highly decorated with the Pioneer accolades as well. But was there recruitment on baseball as well?
There was. I do remember taking a visit out to Ohio Dominican for baseball. Just didn't feel it was the right fit at the time. And I also believe may have been in talks with Ohio Northern for baseball as well. But, it just felt right to stay close to home at Marietta, and it just wound up football recruited a little bit harder from a football standpoint at Marietta, and that's kind of where I ended up.
Yeah, coming out of high school, like 390 batting average. I'm surprised you didn't get gobbled up over there for a little two-sport action, right? So we're going to take a break. Our guest is Cory Kriechbaum, 2025 inductee into the Marietta High School Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony to be coming up on the 11th of October. Cory raising it high for the class of 2007. We'll take a break and be right back.
The Marietta High Tigers play on WMOA.
Johnny Wharff continuing a spotlight interview with Cory Kriechbaum, class of 2007, Marietta High School, the lost art of the kick and punt return. Talk a little bit about one of the most exciting plays in football, and you got to be a part of it when it was a big deal. It doesn't feel quite as big a deal anymore. They keep changing it on us a little bit.
Yeah, they keep changing the rules a little bit, but back then, you're kind of back there by yourself. Got to make sure you got the 10 guys in front of you, obviously, and hopefully, if they call a punt block, you make sure you fair catch it. I learned that the hard way once or twice. But, there was a couple that I think I sprung. I may have sprung one back for a touchdown at home, I believe, against New Philadelphia my senior year. May have got called back. I don't really recall, but I do have a still frame photo of the punt return as I was crossing the goal line. So whether it counted or not is still pretty special.
Are you aware of any of those? Like, I know that you had records, at least that I recall, they were records when I was calling your games for, I don't know if it was receiving yards, it was punt return for sure. But do you recall if there's any records, whether it's Marietta High School or Marietta College, that are still hanging out there?
I think when I graduated, I had the receptions record at the high school. I think it got passed a year or two after that, maybe. And then at the college, I had two when I got done for receptions in a season and receptions in a career. I think I finished tied for that one. Those have both been surpassed now. I think actually Dawson Snyder from Marietta College broke one last year, and I reached out to him and congratulated him, and he had a really successful career at Marietta too. So that was really cool.
That is very cool, and that you'd reach out to him as well. Talk a little bit about who called you to let you know the good news, and then what your plans are in terms of if you know who's going to present you at the ceremony.
Yeah, so actually sitting on the couch on a Tuesday night, just in the middle of summer, kind of later than usual, we get a phone call. But it was a local cell phone number. Wasn't sure if it was somebody at work that needed me, but so I answered the call, and Coach Thrash was on the other end of the line. And so he kind of broke the news to me, and that was pretty exciting. Took me a minute or two to get my bearings back, just from the internal shock and joy of the news, and the big smile on my face. So not something you expect 20 years or so, close to 20 years, a phone call out of the blue like that, but couldn't be more appreciative and thankful of the honor for that. And when I mentioned to talk to Coach Thrash a little more recently, actually, he will be the one, if his plans align, to be presenting me there on October 11th.
Oh, that's fantastic. Last thought from Cory Kriechbaum, class of 2007, inductee into the Marietta High School Athletic Hall of Fame this year in 2025. One or two memories, doesn't matter what sport, that pop for you when you think about, holy cow, did you really say 20 years ago? When you think, not quite, but when you think about high school days?
Oh, there were a handful. Once you said the interview, to look back and think about, I remember hit a grand slam at Jackson in a game that we won 4-3. That was pretty cool. And then from a basketball standpoint, the buzzer beater out of Warren, I think it was my senior year. That was a cool one too. And then on the flip side, later in the season, playing them at home, I think I put up my career high of 30 points in the game against Warren. So had a pretty good little season there against them. And then from a football standpoint, probably I think in my junior year, we went up to the Pro Football Hall of Fame Stadium, got to play on that field against Canton Glen Oak. That was just a really cool moment, especially with all, the NFL game that gets played there every year and the state championship games. And there was just a lot of history to that, and it was very cool to play there.
All right. And again, let me squeeze you for one more just because you got me thinking about it a little bit. But as it relates to being able to stick around the area, or do you have a hand in any sports? I always like to ask, do you playing, did you keep, playing at summer league or get in the intramural activities, or do you have kids or coaching or anything like that?
Yeah, so after college, I moved away for probably a little over a decade, and obviously just moved back to the area here and within the past 5 or 6 years. So haven't really had a hand in local sports recently, but the future looks potentially bright. I got a first grader. He just got done playing coach pitch baseball this past year, and then our second son, he just turned 1 over the summer. So I'll have plenty of years upcoming here to coach and teach and have fun and share some of the stuff that I learned with them, which I'm really looking forward to.
All right, that's Hall of Famer. Make sure you sign HOF in front of them after your name whenever they're around, so they can ask you about that. Hey, thank you for your time. Congratulations. We'll see you here around the corner for sure.
Thanks, Johnny.
All right, Cory Kriechbaum, class of 2007 and 2025 inductee into the Marietta High School Athletic Hall of Fame.